Now, you've seen this definition before. Data relevant to an investigation that is transferred by or stored on electronic devices. That's digital evidence. You go, Dean, I've already heard this before. Well, it's kind of important. Now remember, in the digital evidence, we need to go one step further. It's not like a criminal is going to walk up to you and go, hi, here's all my data, and let me show you my spreadsheets where I've been doing this illegal activity. They're not going to do it that way. They're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to password protect it. I'm going to encrypt it. I'm going to use steganography. Or worse still, what they're going to do is they're going to take their phone, they're going to have a shredder, and not a paper shredder. You can actually have a physical shredder that will shred hard drives. Go to willitshred.com. If it's still there, they've shredded whole cars. And the point is that they're not going to hand you this evidence. If they know that, hey, the list of numbers of all my customers and all my suppliers is on here, they're going to say, hey, how do I get rid of this? They're going to chuck it in the water. They're going to try and grind it up. They're going to drive over it with their car. They're going to smash it with a hammer. And then somebody's going to collect up all these pieces, put them in a bag, and go, find some evidence on this. Right? I mean, so you've got to be ready for the fact that it's going to be beat up. And it could be beat up physically. It could be beat up digitally. We'll talk about that. So where does it come from? Where do we get our electronic evidence? Well, it's usually magnetic or optical. Optical, remember, that's your DVDs, your Blu-rays, your CDs, those kinds of things. And then on the magnetic side of things, it's your hard drives, USB drives. And we're going to look at all those elements a little bit later on. Hardware has a bunch of information in hidden files. It's not something that you're looking at and saying, okay, I found the Excel spreadsheet. You need something more than that. You need to know that on this date, this program was installed by this person. Why do we need to know that that program was installed by this person? That builds our case to show a pattern of activity that proves that ownership of this particular device or laptop or whatever it is, it proves that that really truly is them, and it links that piece of evidence that you're later going to get, which is the Excel spreadsheet, it links it directly to them so they can't get away from it. Did you give your credit card on this particular date to purchase QuickBooks? And they go, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, on this date, I see you have a receipt, or at the QuickBooks store, it shows that it was purchased with this credit card on this date. And then you have to go outside the system for a second and say, go get his records of payment for his credit cards, pull up those records and see that he actually paid his bill on that day. Because if you didn't buy it and somebody says, well, that's not my QuickBooks program, I didn't do that, well, when your bill came in the mail and it said QuickBooks, you go, well, I didn't buy that. And you'd call up and say, hey, credit card company, take this charge off of there because it's not me. You do the exact same thing with digital evidence. You say, hey, this day that you installed this, you put your name in there. Did somebody fake and sneak in and put your name on their computer and then hand you that and put that in that place? Did they plant evidence on your computer? Well, no, it's impossible to plant evidence on your computer if you've got the installed program with your name on it that you purchased at this particular date and you installed with this registry setting. All that stuff just mounts up so that this is yours, and it's proof that it's yours, and then here's the illegal activity that's within it. So it's not the smoking gun at the end, which is the Excel spreadsheet or QuickBooks that says, here's the customer list. It's all those little tiny pieces beforehand that you're digging down and looking for. This is called corroborating evidence. We take all these things together, and it becomes this mountain of material that says, this is yours, we can prove it 16, 20, or 100 different ways. Okay, now, at this point, that's what we're trying to do. But let's back up for a second. We need to say, hey, there's a chain of custody on this so that the defendant can't say, that was mine, but you changed it. That was mine, but you installed that program afterward. You planted evidence. The chain of custody says, no, when we captured this evidence, when we searched and seized this particular evidence, we protected it all the way to the court. So once we got it, we didn't change it, And you can't say that we changed it and that we planted evidence. So what you do is you start documenting this chain of custody, which we saw yesterday, but now we're putting in all these details: case number, location where it was obtained, reason for the evidence being obtained, date and time, item number, quantity description, name of evidence. All of these things, they're all pieces that say when we picked it up and we gave it to the court, that string from the time that we picked it up to the time that it made it to court made sure that it was maintained and protected so that somebody can't say, hey, you're planting evidence. You need to know your chain of custody documentation, and you need to build forms for that. But by the way, there are a bunch of them online that you can download and use.